Good morning, Claire here in the Pacific Northwest Puget Sound area, Grow Zone 8B, and it is an overcast, sort of sprinkly Sunday morning, but we have had a lot of high heat days this week, so we've been not super productive. We haven't done anything super new in the garden. I have kind of pruned quite a few things back, and I'll show you what it looks like at this current time. But besides that, we went on like one mini adventure this weekend. I cannot wait to show it to you. It's gonna have something really cool in it. So come on with me, let's check out the garden and we'll look at the adventure. Here is my front bed, and good news about these gladiolas, because I thought that they were maybe not going to bloom this year, because the funny thing is my mom lives in Alabama, and the gladiolas that I planted in her yard had already come and bloomed and all that good stuff. And I just thought, well, they're a mess. They're not going to happen. But my neighbor said, "Oh, look, your glads are up. You're going to have a lot of them this year." And I was like, "Oh, they're going to put. Are they going to flower? Or are they going to just put off shoots?" And she's like, "No. If the bulb is mature, then you'll have glads." And she's like, "And if you bought it at the store, it's probably mature." So there's some good news there. Look at all those glads that are going to come up. And then you might have noticed this looks a lot thinner because I did cut off a lot of these stalks because they're losing their flowers, but I'm keeping the two biggest ones because I'm going to save some of the seeds from them. My thinking is that since they're so healthy, that I want the seeds from the tallest, juiciest ones, and I'm going to plant some of those on purpose so that I have more foxgloves, not this year, but next year, and maybe they'll drop some of their own seed. And then now you can see this plant, which I still need to figure out the name of it. It might be some type of agastache, I'm not sure, but isn't that cute? It's starting to get bushier every day. And then just more growth from these tiger lilies and these pretty pink lilies. And I super cut this back mega hard because everything had really, come to a head, and was there was only like this that had some like little blooms on it that hadn't fully opened, and so I left this one. But I cut everything else off, and it looks like I might get more because there's lots of new growth shoots all over here. So we'll see if this does a second show this year. And here's the view of this garden right here. And you know what? These videos, I can tell, do not really do it justice, because all these little plants on the ground are getting really exciting to me. Like um, this paprika plant right here. It is so cute, and it really is spreading out. The lady that I bought it from told me that it would just spread and take off and take over. So I can't wait to see that. But I'm loving this little pop of red, and I'm leaving some of the poppies stalks on here because I want them to create seed and have even more poppies next year. And all of my little seedlings that I have planted are still alive and thriving, and I think probably going to take off really soon. And then here's this little beauty right here. This is the climbing rose that I got this year, and she is just so pretty. She's so beautiful. I love her. And it looks like I'm going to have a whole little cluster here. And I hope she just keeps on taking off and growing and getting taller and taller. So we all know to deadhead roses that have gone past their prime, so that the new roses coming up can thrive and get the nutrients and not get sucked up by this. But I learned something new this week, and let me know if this is something you've ever heard before. But to encourage new growth, then you're going to want to cut it this way. So here was my monstrous big rose bush here, and I super had to cut this front part out because all the new blooms were in the back of the plant, and you couldn't see them above the old blooms and the old canes. So I found out that you are supposed to cut to encourage new growth to the first set of 5 leaves. So you might notice up here closer to the bloom that's here currently, there's only 3 leaves. There's 3 leaves there. And then down here is 5 leaves. So you would want to cut, if you want to encourage more, at an angle down here at the, in just above the fifth leaf set, or leaf set that has five leaves on it. So I did that to all of my rose bushes this week. Like, for instance, this is a perfect example. Here is the fifth, the set of 5 leaves, and there is already a new growth shoot right there. I'm sure if I looked on this plant, I'd find more, but that's really encouraging because I've always cut the plant, but I didn't really know why. Oh, here's a good example too. Here's another one. Check that out. So there's another shoot coming off of there. Here's a bird's eye view of all the peppers and tomatoes. And this one, when I planted it last week, was looking so rough, but it has really, opened up and gotten more full. And all the little ones are doing pretty good too. So this is kind of funny. I put this guy, my dad sent me 2 of them because of the squirrel problem, to kind of deter them. So I put one on the grill here, and literally as soon as I put this out, the crows that I think live in the tree behind my house started making a huge fuss, and like a couple of big crows came and were flapping their wings up in this tree up above me. And I don't know if they were trying to decide if it's real or fake, or just let it know, like, hey man, like, be cool. And here is the PTP. And I think I'm, like last week I talked about putting some cucamelons in here, but I think I'm going to put more beans in here because on this side, this bean is already, it's already climbing up here. I didn't train it to do that. It just knew what to do. With the peas, they have to be put up against this, and like they'll still make their way off of it. So next year I'm probably going to do something different with the peas, but oh, here we go, we got some here. But yeah, they just flop over. They don't want to climb on themselves. Like, you have to do a lot of weaving it on. So I think these beans are just gonna fill this place up a little bit better than the peas have. Here's my other little owl from my dad that I put over here to keep the bad things away from my plants. But so far, it looks like they are, pretty much respecting what is already here and growing. Although, actually, okay, I take that back. There's a nasturtium right there that clearly got pulled off of the plant. So, but the tomato forest is doing very well. I need to come over here and cut back some of these blackberry vines that are getting kind of crazy. In this little area, I don't think I show this off very much, but it is doing good. And funnily enough, over here, see this right here? This pops up everywhere back here and in my garden bed, and I thought, like, it's what's it called? Forget-me-nots. Which I did plant one year, about 3 years ago, and it completely took over. So, but I am going to leave some of this little forget-me-nots out here, and maybe some in the garden bed over here. But they just really, really, really will completely take over. As you can see, like, they're just everywhere, and I've already pulled up about like 6,000 of them. So, oh, and then before I forget, this is a calendula, and it's getting a little flower on it. So things are finally starting to really thrive. I finally have the start of some exciting things to show you guys. So here was some anise hyssop that I had from last year. I think I bought it like in the fall, and it said it was a perennial, and it came back. And so finally, we're starting to get some little purpley flowers at the top. So I'm sure that's going to just get bigger and more open, and I'm so excited for that. Okay, and here we are going down the flower row. And look at this stalk. It is actually getting strong. I thought that this was going to be puny and probably not make it. And it might not flower. You know, I never trust that these plants are going to do what I want them to do. But they're doing good. They're getting strong and sturdy, and everything's getting bushier and bushier. And oh, and this was exciting to me when I was walking around. I look at my plants 500 times a day, and this is one of the cosmos, and it looks like a little seed bud right there. I mean, a flower bud right there, and right there, and on that other side there was some on that as well. Oh, and then let me give you this view. So I got these this week, and they were at the grocery store for $8.99, and so I just could not let them go because there's 4 different varieties there of dahlias, and I figured I'd put them in the naked spots in here and just go ahead and have some beautiful color. So I need to come out here actually and cut some of these that are spent, and so that these other ones can thrive and continue to look beautiful. But I love, love, love them. And I love that every single variety is just so unique. And then here is our sunflowers. Once again, it's getting really tall. It's up to my belly button now. And we've got these little seed heads coming up. And the 3 sisters over here, the corn, you know, probably know the oh, here is a mushroom. I had to show you some other mushrooms that I had this week. My neighbor came over, I was showing her the garden, and she's like, oh, what are y'all gonna do with those mushrooms? And I was like, nothing, because we don't eat mushrooms. And I was like, you can have them. So she took them. So I guess they're edible. But she was like, oh my gosh, because I had like 10 of them over in this other spot. Here's a little peek at all of these volunteer plants. I love the yellows and the purples together. Yellow is just the happiest color ever. Oh, and I have to show you this plant right here. This is a rose that my sister planted for in honor of Katana being born right after we bought the house. And this is the only bloom it's done this year. And as you can see, this is probably not the best place for this plant because of all the hedges blocking out the sun. It's not getting enough. So this literally grew over into where the sunlight hits. So I need to figure out a better place for this this plant, because I really cherish it and I want it to thrive, but it's not thriving here. But it is so beautiful and smells amazing. This is called a Memorial Day rose, and I just love how girly and frilly the petals are, and it was the perfect thing to do in honor of Katana being born. This week we went on an adventure to a park called Blueberry Park, and it is just rows and rows and feels like miles and miles of blueberry bushes. This was donated to our city after a blueberry farm in the 1950s and 60s. I don't know if the owners, you know, passed on or weren't able to maintain it anymore, but now it's a free food forest for our city. Into Narnia. Come here, Katana. Nothing's ripe yet, but we just explored the whole park, and there is a beautiful community garden that looks very well maintained and cared for.
White cabbage butterfly.
Mm-hmm.
Lettuce.
There's a really fun, cute little park that we played on for a little bit before we continued our adventures because there was so many things to see. There were also what seemed to be a lot of different varieties of crab apples, and we saw some caterpillars and found something fun. See this? This is honeysuckle.
Honeysuckle, give me it.
Do you know how to get it?
Yes. Okay. So imagine this little straw right here. Let me push it in. Well, it's deep in there, and so you just grab this thing, and ta-da! Honeysuckle.
Look real close and see if you notice what I'm about to point out. Look real close to the tree that Connor's about to walk next to, and it's going to look like he makes eye contact, but there is a creature sitting right there. Can you see it right where it is on a little branch hanging down? We went to this enchanted forest pathway and found what looked like a wild cherry, and while we were trying to decide if it was something we could eat or not, something flew within inches of our heads. And I can see it in the picture now. I didn't see it at all until it flew over our heads and landed. I can't wait to show it to you. Don't scream. Don't scream. Oh my gosh. Oh my lord. This guy, he scared the you-know-what out of us. We did not see him. He just blended right into where he was. And it was really, I know we disturbed him, but it was kind of a treat to get to see him. And we just stood and marveled at him for a long time before we went on a short little hike down this enchanted fairy pathway. And it literally looked like, you know, the forest from Hansel and Gretel, I would imagine it to be. And that's what Connor and Katana reminded me of as we were leaving. And that guy was just still sitting right where he plopped up to let us know, like, hey, you're being loud and noisy and annoying. Get out of my space. Thanks so much for sticking around to see what we've gotten into this week. I hope that you've had a fun week and all the things are happening in your garden. What's something that's currently happening in your yard that you're so excited to see every day? I'd love to hear about that. Also, just to give you a heads up, next week is going to be a little bit hectic, so I may not get a video out, but if I do, you'll see it here. So I hope you guys have an awesome week and a happy early 4th of July, and we will see you either next week, but definitely the week after. Have a great day.